Decoded.
Welcome back to Book Decoded, everybody. Are you ready to kind of flip your perspective a little bit? Because today, we're really diving deep into a book that could honestly change how you see your own potential.
Yeah, we're cracking open Raise Your Roof by Karl Subban.
Okay.
Now, this isn't just another self-help, guru telling you to dream bigger.
Right.
Subban's coming at this from a really genuine place. Someone who's not only raised really successful kids, but he spent years as a teacher and principal.
Yeah.
Plus his time now as a speaker and coach. He's really seen what makes people tick, what helps them grow.
Absolutely. And I think, you are our listener. You're always out there seeking these new angles and actionable insights. So we're going to pull out those key ideas from this book that can really help you identify and maybe even, totally just blow the lid off some of those limitations you might not even know you've accepted.
That's right. You've likely encountered this idea that to truly master something, you need to put in around 10,000 hours, right? It's become this widely cited rule.
Yeah, absolutely. Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers really put that concept on the map, I think. But what's interesting and what Subban kind of touches on in this book is that the science behind that number isn't quite as straightforward as it sounds.
Right. And what's interesting here is the research from Anders Ericsson and Robert Poole in Peak, Secrets from the New Science of Expertise.
Oh, yeah.
And their work really suggests that it's not just about the sheer number of hours, but the kind of practice, right?
Totally.
It's about deliberately challenging yourself, stepping outside your comfort zone, and constantly seeking new, difficult experiences to really hone your skills.
Which, when you think about it, right, you're always out there digging deeper, not just passively absorbing information. So this idea of really active engagement, really pushing your boundaries.
Right.
That probably resonates. It's not about endless repetition. It's about really targeted effort that really stretches you.
Yeah, and Subban actually uses this story to illustrate this whole idea of, potential and limitations. It's about an old man and a plant named Grow. Have you come across this one?
I have. I love this one. It's such a vivid image.
Yeah. So this plant starts growing like crazy, right? In the old man's house, right?
In his house, yeah.
But then it hits the roof.
And just stops.
Stops. Grow reaches this physical limit, like the roof of the house.
And then what?
Now, the old man has a few choices here, right?
Yeah.
He could trim the plant, try to stunt its growth.
Right.
Or he could recognize that the plant's potential is being limited by its environment.
Mm-hmm.
So, being a resourceful guy, the old man decides to do what?
Well, he decides to raise the roof, right? I mean,
he does.
He's not going to limit the plant.
He's going to raise the roof. Yeah.
He's going to raise the roof.
He understands that the limitation isn't with Grow itself, but with the structure surrounding it.
Exactly.
And what happens when he raises the roof is quite telling.
I mean, it's beautiful. Suddenly, this plant bursts into bloom. There's this incredible flower. A butterfly lands on it. The old man even sees a rainbow. And Subban breaks down what all that symbolizes. It's pretty powerful for thinking about your own life.
Absolutely. The rainbow, those desires, those dreams that might feel out of reach right now, the butterfly, the ability to achieve what seems impossible. And raising the roof, that's the action you take to remove those self-imposed barriers and just allow your potential to flourish. It makes you kind of wonder, what are some of the roofs in your own life that you might not even be conscious of?
That's a really good question.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Subban also talks about how children offer a great example of, untapped potential. They don't just follow a script. They really thrive when they believe in what they can do and when they're given that space to really explore.
Yeah.
It's that inherent belief.
Absolutely.
That's so crucial. And as adults, we can also fall into these patterns and just accept these limitations that aren't actually real.
So true. He even shares this practice he had as a principal.
Oh, right.
Getting students to say, I believe in my potential. It sounds so simple, but that constant affirmation can really ingrain this sense of possibility. It really makes you think about the power of your own internal dialogue, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And that leads us to this idea of identifying and actually removing those roofs.
Yeah.
And labels play a big part here, don't they?
Oh, they absolutely do.
Yeah.
Those labels we get stuck with.
Right.
Sometimes from other people, sometimes the ones we put on ourselves. I'm not good at math. I'm just not a creative person. They can become these invisible ceilings.
Exactly. Think about the labels you might have picked up over the years. The quiet one, the analytical one, maybe even something less flattering. these can really box you in and prevent you from exploring other facets of yourself.
Totally. And I think Subban brings in Stephen Covey's, circle of concern and circle of influence,
Oh, yeah.
which, again, for you listener out there, it's such a practical way to think about this. Your circle of concern, that's all that stuff you worry about, big, small. But your circle of influence is where you actually have some control. So what's really key is to focus your energy on that circle of influence.
Yeah.
Right? By taking action on the things that you can change. That's how you start to feel more empowered. And those limiting labels, they start to lose their grip.
And then you have those stories like Wilma Rudolph,
Oh, yeah.
who faced just incredible physical challenges as a child, but went on to become an Olympic champion.
Amazing.
Her life just screams defiance against those limiting labels.
Yes.
And it really makes you consider what labels you might be allowing to define you.
Absolutely. Now, to really raise that roof, Subban says there's these 3 key things. You've got to dream, you've got to believe, and you've got to do. So let's start with dreaming.
Okay. Dreaming is that initial spark, that vision of something more, something bigger than your current reality. It's about allowing yourself to imagine these possibilities without immediately censoring them with what seems realistic.
Yeah. He tells a great story about his son, Malcolm,
Oh, yeah.
wanting to switch to being goalie in hockey. Everyone else thought he should just stick to defense,
Right.
But that goalie dream, that was his dream.
Yes.
And that's where he ultimately thrived. It really highlights that power of pursuing your own vision.
Exactly. And then comes believing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
This is about connecting with that potential that you have, giving yourself permission to explore who you truly are and what you're capable of.
Yeah. He mentions Willie O'Ree, the first Black player in the NHL,
Right.
and how his story served as a source of belief for Subban himself, showing that barriers can be broken.
Yeah.
He also talks about this woman, Maria, who felt completely overwhelmed until she made space for herself, which then reignited her belief in her own agency. And sometimes that's all it takes, isn't it? Just a little room to breathe and reconnect with what's important to you.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Subban also brings in this idea from the Aqua people,
Oh, yeah.
who believe that their dreams actually hold these messages about the future.
Okay.
Now, whether you take that literally or not, it really highlights the power of both, like conscious and subconscious dreaming in shaping our sense of purpose and just uncovering these possibilities. The key is that these dreams, they have to be yours.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then finally, there's the doing part, right? And Subban really asks, are you a human being or just a human doing?
Ooh, that makes you think.
It does. Being a human being is about focusing on who you want to be, right?
Yeah.
Your character, your values, not just your accomplishments. And Subban's mantra for his students, to work hard to be a better person, a better student, a better athlete, really emphasizes this focus on growth beyond just, the outcome.
Yeah, and he stresses that you have to fall in love with the process, with the doing, and that consistent practice, that is non-negotiable.
Absolutely. He also talks about the importance of your team,
Yes.
the people who support those dreams.
Yes. And think about that chef who finally pursued his passion after honoring his father's wishes.
Right.
Having that support system, those people who understand your vision, is so critical in turning those dreams into reality.
Yeah.
Now, he even brings in Kobe Bryant's Mamba mentality,
Mhm.
that relentless focus and love for the game, even when things aren't going your way. It's about that underlying passion that keeps you going.
Yeah, that's it.
And he points out, right, that it's okay to adjust your goals as you learn and grow, and even to take a break when you need to.
Yeah. And that ties into this idea of SMART goals, right?
Right.
Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound.
Yeah.
And they provide this roadmap for action while keeping that spark of joy alive as you work towards your bigger vision.
I loved the story about throwing rocks with strangers. It's so simple but powerful.
Oh, it's a great one.
Mistaking a pile of rocks for a threat in the dark. And then this stranger appears and just joins in to help. It highlights how shared support can help us overcome those perceived obstacles.
Right.
Even if those obstacles turn out to be a lot less daunting than we initially thought.
Right.
It really speaks to the power of community and connection.
It really does.
And Subban also talks about this window of opportunity that we have in life
Mm-hmm.
to pursue our potential.
It's a reminder that time and energy, their finite resources.
Yes.
And he contrasts his own optimism with his brother's feeling that his best days were behind him,
Oh, wow.
and emphasizing that our mindset plays a huge role in whether we seize the potential that each day holds. It
Yeah.
makes you think about how you're spending your own time and energy.
Yeah, it really does.
And you know what? He even suggests looking at your morning and evening routines as these potential pockets for that focused flow state when you're really in the zone.
Totally. Being intentional about how you start and end your day can really create space for those activities that truly fuel your growth and help you tap into your potential.
It does. And then he presents this really interesting idea of choosing between fear college and potential university.
Oh, tell me about this one.
Okay, so he frames life as this ongoing education, right? And you have essentially these two curriculums to choose from.
Okay.
So fear college is filled with courses on guilt, blame, dwelling on the negative.
Yeah.
Whereas potential university, it focuses on self-acceptance, growth, embracing change, abundance, And he really puts it on you, the listener, to consider which university are you enrolled in.
That's a good one. And then there's the importance of actually finishing what you start.
Yeah.
Mark Twain's quote about getting started being the hardest part really resonates here.
It does. And Subban stresses that reaching your potential isn't just about having these great ideas, it's about seeing them through. He shares Annie's story of learning to be a finisher,
Right.
and even touches on the idea of time not being as linear as we think, which can free us from being confined by the past or future
Totally.
and help us focus on that present task.
And the concept of being the mirror,
Yes.
that idea of self-reflection and seeking feedback is so key for growth.
It is. Lindsay, the manager in his example, needed to look inward
Yeah.
to understand how to best support her team member. That act of self-reflection, of observing your own thoughts and behaviors without judgment is a powerful tool for making conscious choices and fostering lasting happiness.
Absolutely. And finally, that idea of shimmering like gold
Yes.
and embracing playfulness. I love that.
Yeah. And it's encouraging bringing your best, most positive self to everything you do. And Subban connects this to the power of imagination. The way that children approach the world with such curiosity and joy. And research actually backs up this link between play and creativity, emotional intelligence, and even innovation.
Wow.
So he even has this little childhood gold quiz to help you reconnect with that playful side.
Okay.
And offers some practical ways to tap into those childlike skills, like hitting a mental clear button on stress and practicing a beginner's mind.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And the book wraps up with this idea of being up and beyond, focusing on resilience and the fact that growth, it often comes from navigating those challenges.
He uses that image of the deeply rooted tree weathering the storm.
Yes.
And he reminds us that those difficult times, they're temporary. And that nurturing our potential, our dream tree, provides the stability we need to get through them. Ultimately, by raising our roof, we're creating a stronger foundation for continuous growth.
That's right. So for you, the listener, the key takeaway here is that unlocking your potential isn't some mystical process. It's about understanding yourself, cultivating that belief in your abilities, taking consistent action, and learning from every experience along the way.
Take a moment. Really think about these ideas. What resonated most with you? What's one small step you can take today to start raising your own roof? What's one label you're ready to let go of? And what's that dream that you're going to give just a little more attention to right now?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Raise Your Roof. We hope this exploration has given you some fresh perspectives and actionable ideas.
We'll be back soon with another insightful book to decode for you. Until then, keep exploring and keep growing.